In this video we're going to do an experiment to see if we use alternating current, can we reduce the corrosion that we would get, or electrolysis that would happen on these soil moisture probes. So we've got the standard Arduino based resistive soil moisture probes and PCBs down here, and then I've made a prototype PCB that sends a AC current through the probe. I've also got made my own versions of the probes, and the difference, other than the fact that it has a higher surface area compared to the standard ones you get off eBay, they're also gold plated, so I'm hoping that will reduce the corrosion as well. So this is the setup. So we've got 6 containers of water containing ½ litre each. We've got the 2 DC probes in these containers, the 2 controls in those containers, and the 2 AC probes in here. And as you can see, each probe is of the different type. So this is AC passing through the eBay type soil moisture probe, and this is against one that I made that's gold plated. And then we got our controls not attached to anything, and then we got the DC probes. Gonna leave it for a week and see what happens. We're now 3 days into the experiment. So if we have a quick look at the DC probe, so this is the standard probe that you would buy off eBay. It's been submerged for 3 days, and you can see that there's clearly some corrosion going on the positive probe, and you can also see that the positive jump lead is corroding. If we look at the gold plated version, you've got a similar story. So this probe had AC running through it, and it looks as good as new at the moment. There is a small amount of rust, I don't know if you can see it in the video, on the crimp connectors of the jump lead. And you can see that the water is nice and clear. Now if we compare that to the gold plated version, you can see there's a reasonable amount of rust on the dew point connectors, where it is actually the crimp part of the connector that appears to be rusting. The probes themselves look okay. I think the reason for this rust is the galvanic difference in voltage between the gold plate on the probe, on the PCB, and the crimp connector itself. But to test this theory, I added the cable to both the eBay version of the probe and the gold plated version of the probe, and as you can see, the gold plated version of the probe with no water going through has some rust showing on the connections. And to make sure that it is actually the connection, I've also put a gold plated version of the probe center in water without any jump leads attached. So let's leave this for a few more days and see what happens. So it's been a week and we're going to see what's happened. So if we look at the DC probes, you can see there's quite a lot of copper oxide on the positive probe, and for the gold one you can see that it's lost its plating on the positive probe as well. Now if we compare that to the AC probe, the water's nice and clear and it looks brand new. We do have some corrosion of the connector on the gold probe, but the probes themselves look okay. And then that's the gold control, showing that there's rust on the connector, and the control for the standard probe. And then just to confirm that it is the connector causing the rust, that's a gold probe without the connector attached. So I've pulled all the probes out of the water now, and you can see we've got the DC probes have got some corrosion. The AC probes seem to have very little corrosion on their probes, and then we've got the 2 controls. I'm just going to wipe them down with a bit of tissue and see that what we got left. So let's start with the control, and these 2 probes have been submerged for the whole week with no current running through them, and they look absolutely fine. It's the eBay version and the gold plated version. Now let's compare that with the probes that have had DC current going through them. Have a look at the eBay one. There's corrosion on both probes. Don't know where you can see that. The connection is fine. And for the gold, there's corrosion on one probe, but the other one looks fine. And look on the other side. Some corrosion or marking on one probe, but the other one's okay. And there's a small amount of corrosion on the connector, and there's rust from the connector on the 2-point lead. So is there any benefit of gold plating? The probes seem like they'll last longer in DC. However, if you're going to use them, just make sure you don't submerge the connector and the 2-point lead. And then AC, you can see how the AC current has preserved the condition of the probes. So that's the eBay one, probes are in good condition, and that's the AC one. Brilliant, so there's benefit of using gold plating and AC current.